these are the words of Allah. Then what's the point? Why even discuss this point? Why even discuss this issue? I have two things to share with you on this subject. The first of them is a conversation about one of the people in the Quran, one of the dialogues of a person in the Quran who, when we think about Iman, we think about him, Ibrahim alayhi salam. وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ أَرِنِي كَيْفَ تُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى. Ibrahim alayhi salam said to Allah, Ya Allah, show me how do you bring life to the dead? How do you do that? Now, Allah Azza wa Jal asked him a very strange question in response, and a very reasonable one. He said, أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ? So you don't already have Iman? You didn't believe yet? You didn't have Iman? Because why would somebody ask, show me how, until they already have Iman? But the response of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and Ibrahim, you can think about the Iman of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Where am I, and where are you, and where's the Iman of Ibrahim alayhi salam? And he says to Allah, Bala, of course, why not? No, I have Iman. وَلَكِنْ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. Because I just want to satisfy my heart. I want to put my heart at ease. In other words, when a Muslim, even a prophet, a messenger, sees a miracle of Allah, when they see that, there's something that happens to their heart. They become tranquil. The heart becomes at ease. And this is a very powerful thing that Allah told us in this ayah. وَلَكِنْ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. The Muslim should study the miracle of the Quran and appreciate the miracle of the Quran, because then the heart, not the mind. You see? We think that we're studying the miracle to satisfy our minds. Now we're intellectually convinced that it's a miracle. But the ayah is about our hearts. It's a spiritual reality. When you appreciate the miracle of the Quran, you will appreciate the greatness of Allah. The grandeur you have of Allah. The next time you say Allahu Akbar, it's going to feel different. It's not going to feel the same way. You know, I tell my children the story of Musa alayhi salam and the water parted. It's an amazing story. And they're walking through the water. And I can make them try to imagine it. But it will never be the same as somebody who was actually walking through and looking on both sides, and he's seeing Tawd Alim, he's seeing like mountains raised of water on both sides. That person's Iman is something else right then. Because they are living and they're tasting, they're experiencing a miracle. So the Quran, we want to taste its miracle. We want to at least appreciate something about it that we haven't before. Now I'll talk to you about something personal, about myself, and then we'll get into the examples that I wanted to share with you. I have 5 or 6 examples. I hope I get through all of them with you tonight, inshallah. I feel like I'm leashed. Can somebody help me turn? Oh, this is on. Look at that, I can walk around. Having this the whole time that the sheep thing was going on. Okay, so now, personally, myself, the first thing that made me curious about the Quran was its message. Like, what is Allah saying? Like, what is Allah's advice to me? What is Allah's guidance for me? So the first aspect of my relationship and your relationship with the Quran, I would argue, is its message. Its message. This is what made me curious about learning the Arabic language. This is what is curious about. This curiosity made me listen to lectures about the Quran, read tafsir. I got into this study because I was curious about the message itself. But then, this is a few years ago. This is maybe 2003. I came across a lecture series in the Arabic language, and my Arabic was not very strong at the time. So I just started listening to Arabic lectures, and I would understand maybe 30%. But I still forced myself to listen, and just kind of take notes and stuff. So I listened to Tariq Suwaidan's I'jaz al-Quran in Arabic. May Allah reward him. So he did about a 16, 17-hour series on the miracle of the Quran. And this was the first time I heard a topic, the miracle of the Quran. And when I listened to it and I started taking notes, again, I only understood about what? How much? About 30%. But when I took notes, I was hearing things I've never heard before in my life. I've never ever come across some of this stuff in my life, ever. And I was blown away that this subject even existed. Because until then, the only thing that interested me about the Quran was its what? Message. But now there was another conversation. What about its miracle? What about its miracle? And actually the word miracle is not used in the Quran. The word miracle is not used in the Quran. We use the Arabic phraseology, the terms we use are i'jazul Quran. I'jazul Quran. You know, i'jaz in Arabic comes from ajaz. And ajaz in Arabic is to be on your knees, to not be able to get up. When someone says ana ajiz in Arabic, that means I am incapable. I am incapable. So ana mustati', ana qadir, I am capable, ana ajiz, I am incapable. Now, i'jaz means something that makes something else incapable. Like if two people are wrestling each other and one guy steps on the other one's face and he can't get up now, the one who's standing on top of the other guy, he's mu'jiz. He's mu'jiz. And the guy that got stepped on, he can't even get up now, he's mu'jaz. That's the Arabic of it. Okay? I'll give you another example of i'jaz. If you're crossing the street, hopefully not you, somebody's crossing the street, there's a truck coming by. They didn't notice the truck. They didn't notice the truck. And then look for a second and the truck is like 1 foot away from you. Your eyes go wide open. You realize you got nowhere to go. That second before you turn into like pancake, 1 second, you experienced i'jaz. You were overpowered. You were completely overpowered. The discussion in Islamic history is the Qur'an's power to overpower its opponents. The Qur'an is so powerful that somebody who tries to oppose it, somebody who tries to attack it, somebody who tries to come up with something else like it, is always made incapable. They keep falling on their knees. It brings its enemies to their knees. That is the idea of i'jaz. That's not the same as miracle. The word miracle is used in strange ways in English. It's not the same. But since it's a popular term, I even chose it in the title. Because if I said the Qur'an's power to bring its opponents to its knees, it would have been a long title. And by the time, I don't know how you fit that on a flyer, you have to go all around the page or something. I don't know. Right? So I didn't choose that title. But now, for me personally, I started studying this subject and I started taking notes. I still remember, I started just kind of taking examples down of what's talked about and how it's a miracle, in what sense is it a miracle. And sometimes I would study these examples and I would have to stop taking notes. And I would just have to go in a corner and cry. I'd be